Well, what do we have here then? It looks like Julian Alvarez is set to join Atletico Madrid. Guys, what do you reckon about this? I do want to know what you think. Please do get involved in the chat. I want to know all of your opinions. It does mean the world to me to know what you guys reckon, because I got a feeling this is going to be relatively torn, because Alvarez is a very good player and a man that we probably might need to replace in some way or another, but will we? That is the question. Anyway, welcome back to another video on your daily news show. Sorry that this is a little bit late. I was out in Manchester doing some filming, actually, and I've only just got back now. And back to this news about Julian Alvarez and Atletico Madrid. I mean, this has sort of felt reasonably obvious, if I'm being honest, for a tiny bit of time. No one's really hit the fact that Alvarez wanted to go. Alvarez has not hit it. Guardiola made it obvious that he wanted it to go, and I think City have really made it obvious that if the money comes in, they'll let him go. This is how it is. This is how it is, man. We just let the people go, you know? So, what is the story here? I'll go over to David Ornstein's Twitter account, Mr. Ornstein. Why did it sound like Mr. Anderson? I mean, he could be. He is like the Mr. Anderson of football Twitter, isn't he? David Ornstein. I'll just highlight that. By the way, you know, the king there follows me. Just a nice humble brag. Anyway, Ornstein said, Atletico Madrid close to a striking deal with Man City to sign Julian Alvarez. Not fully agreed, but now in sight. Clubs negotiating final price and payment terms would be at least 5 times the 14 million City paid in 2024, plus 24-year-old Kieran Atleti. Quick maths, that's more than 70 million. 5 times 14 is 70. So it'll be more than 5. Yeah, I mean, it's good money, and that's £1 million. It's pounds, not euros or anything like that. So it looks like it's going to be an awful lot of money. If he goes. Now, I'll go to the article itself. It says Atletico are close to striking a deal with City striker Man City to sign forward Alvarez. Although total agreement has not yet been reached, this is now in sight with talks at the stage of negotiating the final price and payment structure. Significant progress has been made since talks began last week. If the proposed move happens 5 times, blah, blah, blah. Alvarez is keen on the move to the Spanish capital, and personal terms are not expected to be a problem. The 24-year-old is among a number of players City have recruited from South America and become the latest to depart for significant profit after achieving vast success. I mean, I want to put that down there, by the way. People give Cheeky an awful lot of credit, but countless times we sign a player and then we sell him for an awful lot after achieving vast success. That is good business. Whichever way you paint it, it's good business. Now, of course, you have to replace them, but we keep winning the league, so it keeps going okay. Anyway, we won 2 Premier Leagues, FA Cup, Champions League, but he has largely played second fiddle to first choice frontman Haaland. 54 appearances last season, 19 goals, 13 assists, which obviously is 32 goal contributions, is a lot. He won the Copa America, of course, as well, in the World Cup. So there we go. This is where we're at with this deal. It looks like it's absolutely going to happen. He is going to join Atletico Madrid. And look, first of all, I'll break it down from the Julian Alvarez perspective, because I want to, we should explain it. We should explain why it's going to happen. Alvarez obviously came to Manchester City. It was before we signed Haaland. We signed him we agreed the deal before Haaland ever came in, so it was in January in 2022 that the deal was agreed. And yeah, he agreed to come. And then, of course, Haaland came in. It was a good move for him regardless. So, but at the time, he knew, he was going to get a lot of football. He'd hoped to get a lot of football, but it was no guarantee. I think City would have told him that we're trying to sign Haaland to a striker. There's no guarantee he'd be the number one. But he took his punt, basically. And to be honest, he was still really good. He played an awful lot of football for City. He scored an awful lot of goals. But he's absolutely been behind Haaland when Haaland's fit, because he's Erling Haaland. And he's absolutely been behind De Bruyne and Foden when fit. It was only really this season just gone, that he played as a midfielder when Haaland wasn't there, because De Bruyne wasn't available. And I think Guardiola liked his sense of goal, as he always says, sense of goal. He wanted him close to the striker, and I sort of get that, He wanted to sort of make up the slack of the lack of goals, because we had no De Bruyne. And he felt like we needed someone else to sort of have that closeness to Haaland, and Alvarez was very instinctively good at that, but he wasn't always a great attacking midfielder, even though he did contribute some good assists, so fair play to him. But either way, people will point a lot to the fact that he played an awful lot of football last season, and the idea that he's leaving because, he's not getting a lot of starts is probably untrue. I would argue that he's just looking at the trends, and he's probably not telling porkies there. I really do feel like the sort of, what's the saying? The writing's on the wall. The writing's on the wall. There you go. The writing's on the wall for Alvarez. If De Bruyne, Foden, and Haaland are fit, he's not going to play in any of those games. We absolutely know it. Like, I'd be devastated by Tony links, by the way, in the chat. Tony, no chance, absolutely not. Totally wrong move. Absolutely wrong. Absolutely not. But anyway, that will happen. Don't worry about it. But yeah, he knew that he probably wouldn't play much this coming season if those two are fit, or those three are fit, because he's a backup. And the proof being that towards the end of last season, he just was sat on the bench an awful lot. And like, I don't blame him for feeling that, he's a reserve striker ultimately, and he won't be the starter if everyone's fit, because he wasn't towards the end of last season. So look, you could turn around and say Haaland's injury prone, blah blah blah, and De Bruyne is getting older, but for him, you could also think, well, what if they don't get injury prone? What if Haaland plays like he did in the first season, where Haaland actually played pretty much all of the season, barely missed any games, and Alvarez was sat on the bench as a backup striker a lot. And he was younger then, so I get it. But right now, though, Julian Alvarez is the main man. He's won everything already at Manchester City. He's won 2 Premier League titles. He's won the lot, not the Carabao Cup admittedly, but yeah, he's won the lot. He's won an FA Cup, he's won the treble, Club World Cup, He just wants to be the number one somewhere. And to be honest, look, sunny Madrid over gloomy Manchester, Daniel, you're not probably wrong, mate. You're not probably wrong, given the fact that, he is from Argentina. The weather is minging here. Even when it's warm, like today, it's still great. So, like, I get it. And it's weird, now from my perspective as a fan, I'm sort of nonplussed. It's weird. It's like, he's obviously really good, but I don't think we're losing anything special. I don't think we are. I don't feel like we're losing, like, a genius. I feel like we're losing a really good player. But I don't feel like we're losing anything more than... Put it this way, do I ever think he's going to be a genius number 10? No. Do I ever think he's going to be Haaland up front? Probably not, no. Do I actually think he could score 25 to 30 goals City? Probably, but I don't think he's a genius. I don't think he is. I think he's very, 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 very good. And yeah, we can talk about his goal contributions. 32 goals assists is indeed a lot, Andrew, in the chat. It absolutely is. We always talk about, we do it a lot. We do it about, Aguero's not playing. How do you replace it? We do a false 9 and Gundogan stepped up and he scored loads of goals. Last season, we have to replace Gundogan and Mahrez. We can't replace it. There's too many goals. And then Foden scored loads of goals and Rodri scored a few more. Then Alvarez stepped up. Like, I don't think I'm undervaluing his quality. I just don't think he's a genius, Jared. I think he's a very good player, though. I wouldn't say he's a world class just yet, but I think he's excellent. I do. But I think he's Haaland and De Bruyne in their roles? No, I don't think he is. And that's not undervaluing him. I think it's just being realistic. Like, it's like how I didn't think Dzeko was a genius either, I thought Aguero was. That's why Aguero was started and Dzeko was on the bench most of the time. I think this, unfortunately, he's cursed to be behind an actual genius in Haaland, who's a 60-goal season guy at his very best. Alvarez will never be that, unfortunately. He won't be. He's going to be a very good striker. I think he'll score 25 to 30 goals for Atletico Madrid. But we've got a guy who'll score 50 to 60, which is absurd. It's almost twice as many, So I guess this is how I feel about it. Like I understand why he wants to move, and I don't feel that. Look, I don't feel that worried about replacing his goals, because I do think Kevin De Bruyne. Look, so how many goals last season? 19 goals. Like, divide his minutes around. You got to bear in mind there'll be 6 months of De Bruyne playing. If he plays and doesn't get injured, I would presume Kevin De Bruyne scores at least 10 goals. So there, you've already picked up a lot of slack there. And I guarantee if Oscar Bob plays a lot more minutes, Oscar Bob scores 10 goals this season minimum if he plays a lot of minutes. And McAtee might score. People step up is the point I'm trying to make. Savinho will score some goals. So as much as like, we will lose some goal contributions. Can you really imagine Oscar Bob a fit and returning De Bruyne and Savinho not getting 32 goal contributions between them? Of course they will do. Because they're good enough. And we always step up and find a way. I'm not saying it's guaranteed. It absolutely isn't guaranteed. But I don't think we're going to fall apart with Alvarez going. I think we can pick up the slack, because we do. Quality players step up when you need them. And it was the same with Mahrez and Gundogan. They were bigger losses potentially than Alvarez. And we sort of cracked on. I know, okay, maybe we weren't quite as good last season, but we still won the league, Can we get the likes up? It'd be really appreciated, by the way. 265 people watching, 40 likes. Let's get to 115 likes as always. Let's get the charges on the board. We have to do it. And please consider subscribing as well if you are new to the channel. It's really nice at the moment. People are enjoying the videos. The vibes are good. The energy is good. The season's rolling in. And it'd be nice to get some support on the channel with the subscribers, if you don't mind, guys. It does help support the channel more than you realise. But yeah. A Manchester City's perspective, so you've heard mine. Look, we need to replace him, maybe. I don't know, maybe not. Look, if someone said you've got to give the minutes to Oscar Bob and McAtee and then returning De Bruyne, I'm fine with that, man. I'm absolutely genuinely fine with it. Like, I actually think McAtee and Bob are more natural 10s than Julian Alvarez. I'm not seeing the better players yet, but I feel like they're more natural players, you know? I feel like they are, so I'm quite relaxed about it. In that 10 role. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Like, I understand why City will let him go as well. I don't feel like we should keep anyone who doesn't want to be here against the will, always. Like, I think in general, if a player wants to go, it means the head has been turned. So if we can get a deal, let them go. Just let them go. Like, it's sensible. And we can all moan about this, but ultimately, Man City won the league 4 times in a row, won everything there is to win, because they've got a squad that all wants to be there. And that shit does matter. I'm sorry. It's just simple psychology. If you've got a player who's looking out the window, they're not focusing on the job at hand. And this is the thing. Alvarez clearly is not fully happy with being on the bench. And the problem you've got here as well, if Alvarez sits on the bench and doesn't play much, his value goes down to 50 million next summer. You lose 25 to 30 million easily if he doesn't play much, because he becomes desperate at that point. You know, and right now his stock is really high. Like Cancelo, yeah. I mean, I don't think he'd be as toxic as Cancelo, Lee, in the chat. But ultimately though, if a player doesn't want to be there, eventually the value dips and dips and dips. And I still think he'd be 50 million plus next season, but he wouldn't be 70 million like it is now, because he wouldn't have played as much. Hot zits in the chat said we didn't let Bernardo go. We did let Bernardo go, mate, but no one came in for him. That was it. Bernardo had a fee, but no one wanted to pay 50 million for him. It was as simple as that. That's a fact, by the way. He's got it in his contract. He can go for 50 million to certain clubs, but it's not City. Like, City won't let anyone go for free, but they will let them go if a decent value comes in. It's always the way. It's always the way, and that's what they say. If someone is gonna bid the money, you can go. As much as we don't want you to go, we'll try and talk you into it. And he obviously will fight for it, but it's crazy that people didn't go in for Bernardo. Do you know why they didn't go in for Bernardo? Because he's not like a goal threat. Like, massive. If Bernardo scored 10 more goals, they would have gone in for him. But people want glitz and glamour for their big signing, and a lot of clubs just do not have the money. And I think Bernardo had a very specific set of requirements as well. I think he wanted to go closer to home, which basically left Spanish clubs. You know what I mean? That was it. Or Portuguese clubs who can't afford him, and probably PSG, and that's it. And they didn't want him. So that's it, basically. So that's where we're at. So that's where we're at with Atletico and Alvarez. I'll go find some more details, by the way. There was rumours, actually, that City had been offered Joao Felix in exchange. I would not want Joao Felix in exchange. I don't. I think Joao Felix is a really talented player, but I feel like that ship has sailed, and I'd honestly rather just give McAtee and Oscar Bob a chance. I don't think it'd work. Felix in 2024, look, he could do well. If Guardiola was going to stay for a while, Felix came on a free transfer, I'd be very excited by it, because I think he could do stuff. But Felix, I don't know, man. I don't really feel it. That was according to Mail Sport who said that. But either way, it's not going to happen. It won't be Felix. City won't go in for him. You do wonder if they'll go in aggressively. Has Olmo been confirmed yet? They could decide to reinvest that money. Do not be surprised if City do go in for a player if they come available. And as Ibrahim said, Echeverri is coming in January. You never know. I don't think he's got a bad attitude, Joao Felix. I think he's just sort of caught in no man's land. But I don't think they're going to buy anyone either. But look, the only thing is, Guardiola always said, like, we might invest if someone comes in. But I think they'll just stick. I wouldn't be surprised. Well, no, I would be surprised. But I would be happier. Put it this way. No, what I was going to say, if City were going to sign someone, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a midfielder, not a striker or forward. But I don't think they'll sign anyone anyway. Echeverri, by the way, he's not even close to ready yet. He looks exciting, but he's going to stay on loan until January, definitely. So, yeah, I feel like this is going to happen. It's going to happen. Did he fall out with Simeone? But, I mean, it is Simeone, mate. Maybe he did, but Simeone. Simeone could argue with a wall, to be fair. It's like, don't forget, it's like he could be a knobhead, but Simeone's also a knobhead too. So we'll see. He could be, Simeone is a brilliant manager, but he's also, he's a knobhead. So like, there's no two ways about it. Echeverry's still on loan at River Plate, so not on loan. He's still there, and he'll join in January. But they're not going to cut that short, I don't think. We'll see where it goes. Yeah, Javi Simmons is going to Leipzig as well. Look, we're not going to sign anyone. I really don't think we are. I think we'll push on, use Oscar Bob more. I think Oscar Bob is going to step up massively. And look, if we're being honest, Oscar Bob is brilliant and absolutely should step up massively. We bought Savinho in. De Bruyne is back. Oscar Bob will step up, and I think what's he called? James McAtee will be Oscar Bob of last season in terms of on the bench and come on as academy player. So I just think we're going to stick. And look, I could try and build the team. We'll go over to here. First of all, we'll change that colour because bloody hell, it defaults to red, which is so annoying. There we go. So I reckon if you just get, also I'll change the formation 1 second. We'll build a squad. But then when you start to build it, you can see why. I just don't think they're going to do it. So you'll have Haaland here, but then you got to have Jack and Doku absolutely out here. I reckon this will be Zav and Bob. This will be, I'm going to put Rodri and Cover for now. Because I think this will be, I'm going to put Foden and Silva. Then I'm going to put KDB, Mac. And this, you got to bear in mind, you got to add Nunes as well. I'm going to put McAtee as a false nine next to him just to make it a little bit easier to write. And all you can see, how the squad starts to fill up. I'll put Kovacic here for now, Nunes here next to KDB. And you can start to see there how the squad fills up a little bit easy, even without him, So I add Nico O'Reilly as well. Yeah, Nico O'Reilly's not on that pitch. Add Nico O'Reilly to it as well. And you can see how it fills up. I mean, Foden might be the false nine as well. He could be. I'm not saying McAtee would be, but a point I'm making, I think Guardiola would just do that. I think he would do it. And I mean, that's what's going to happen, I think he'd just stick with what he's got. Nico, of course, can play there, So, I like Alvarez, but I don't think he's essential. No, I'm not saying McAtee will play there. I was just literally can't put all the names next to each other, So that was it. I just needed to put McAtee on the screen as a squad depth, if that makes sense, I mean, don't forget, all these players would just rotate anyway. They'd just do that, if not Haaland, obviously, if they were playing. But you know how it is. So I can imagine a scenario where we've got enough here in terms of talent according to Guardiola. And yeah, John said the summer's been underwhelming at different levels, can't get motivated for the new season, have not felt this for a long time. That's interesting, mate, because I've really enjoyed it. I guess it depends if you watch the pre-season friendlies or not, and I guess it depends on what intrinsically motivates you. You got to bear in mind, if you look around the league, Liverpool have done nothing really. Arsenal have signed a couple of players. They signed Calafiori, and they've signed who else? There's not been much transfers at all, really, actually. There's barely any. Well, who've Arsenal signed? Arsenal transfers. Oh, they signed Mikel Merino, haven't they? Oh, have they not? Is he not done yet? United signings are injured. Chelsea are just Chelsea. You don't take them seriously. Calafiori, there, I'll say it early. Look, if you watch the pre-season games, I enjoyed them. I had a lot of joy. I had a lot of joy because I saw McAtee, Nico O'Reilly and Oscar Bob state potential first team squad status. And Oscar Bob was already there. But I thought there was a lot to be encouraged by there. I thought Jack Grealish looked really on fire. I thought he stepped up big time. I thought Haaland looked really sharp. I'm excited for him, man. Like, to me, young players getting their chances as squad players is just as exciting as signing a backup, player or whatever. Thank you for the super chat, YK, but even though it's been retracted, message retracted, thank you so much for the super chat, mate. It's more than appreciated. Don't know what you said. It could have been anything, but I will love you anyway. Oops, there's the match reaction from the other day. I'll get rid of that there. But thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate it. Love you, even though I don't know what you said. Look, we'll see how it goes. I think Oscar Bob is going to surprise us. Here's a hot take for you. Based off intuition, and I actually think ability, Oscar Bob is a more natural Manchester City player than Julian Alvarez. Does anyone disagree with that? So here we go. Does anyone disagree with, like, I'll do a poll in the chat. I'm going to do a series of questions. Is Bob a more natural City player than Alvarez? There we go in the chat. There we go. I'm going to have to start the poll there. I mean, what I mean by that is Oscar Bob can play on the left. He can play on the right. He can play as a 9 with his movement. He can play as attacking midfielder. I think he's a lot closer. I think he's a lot closer to Alvarez quality than people realise, you know? And you got to bear in mind that Haaland's going to play most of it. So, a lot of people, there we go. I mean, there's already 50-odd votes and 88%. Here we go. So I'm going to say another thing now. Bear in mind Alvarez played as a number 10. Another question in the chat. I won't even say the poll out loud until I type it. There we go. What do you reckon to that poll? James McAtee is a better 10 than Alvarez, potentially. I put potentially for a reason. I think he is. Once again, if I looked at Alvarez's weaknesses last season was it was his touch. It was his touch and his technical ability in tight spaces. Don't forget he scored goals. He scored goals, absolutely. But I wouldn't say he was part of a Manchester City side that was fluid and brilliant. I feel like he was effective, but I don't think he was a natural 10 at all. I think McAtee is a natural 10. Doesn't mean, two things can be true at the same time, Alvarez. Alvarez can be a big part of it, but it doesn't mean he's a natural 10. I think Alvarez had a good season last year, but I don't think he's a natural 10. I think last season, he started the first few months really well, but I don't know. I didn't say he's better than Alvarez. I said he's a better natural 10. It's a different point entirely. And I think he is a better natural. But he did well playing out of position, but I don't think he ever looked fully comfortable. And what I mean by that is over time, you know? So there's a statement. Most people agree with me. I'm not putting him down. I think he's a brilliant player. Do I think he's a brilliant 10, though? No. Do I think he's a good one? Yeah. McAtee right now is not a brilliant 10, but I think potentially he is. I don't think Alvarez would ever be a brilliant number 10. I think he's a great striker. I don't think this is putting him down. I don't think it is putting him down. I think it's just being honest, you know? And yeah, potentially, yeah, but I would actually rather Oscar Bob playing the 10 role than Alvarez. I would do. So there we go. Oscar Bob would be the first choice for me. And bear in mind then, even then, we're on about Foden and De Bruyne being there anyway. And Foden and De Bruyne, like, is there anyone agree? Is there anyone that would disagree that Foden and De Bruyne are miles better 10s? So there we go. But Alvarez, yeah, great 9. He's a really good 9. He's a 30-goal a season 9. But we've got a 60-goal a season 9 at his best. So that is the level, unfortunately. It's crazy, but that's the way it is. It's tough, man, but I don't think we're going to miss him as much as people realise unless Haaland gets an injury. Then we're going to have to see. I would not be against a striker coming in, but do not be surprised if Guardiola says, fuck it, I'm going in. I can do it. And then he gets injured for the rest of the season, Haaland. Anyway. Nuland reckons Oscar Bob is not ready. I disagree intensely, mate. I think he's more than ready. I think he's a brilliant player. A little bit of extra news, by the way. What does people make of the potential news? A few youth bits of news. Alex Robertson is going to join Cardiff. Happy for him. Really good player. No, he's not related to Andy Robertson. Saint Ave there in the chat. Not in the chat, in the Twitter comments. Good player. I hope he does really well. Cardiff City Championship. Hopefully we've got a buyback or something like that because he's got a really good player. Michael Hamilton is going to... Where are we going? Michael Hamilton's going to Middlesbrough. Look, I've said this before. I think Michael Hamilton is... Mark said disagree. Alvarez is a cracking player. He won us more points than Oscar Bob did. That's irrelevant, mate. It's absolutely irrelevant to the point I'm making because I'm not talking about what happened last season. I'm talking about their potential ability in certain roles. The two things... It's not that black or white. I don't think it's that black or white. I don't think I'm not saying Alvarez is a bad player either. I just don't feel he's a natural 10. I think he did a good job last season, but against anyone good, does anyone remember our record against good teams last season? Take your mind back to actually what happened when we played good teams last season. We were poor against the Big Six last season. We were poor. We genuinely were. Against the lower teams, Alvarez was absolutely fine. He was. But when we played, we could not progress the ball at the pitch. You gave away an awful lot. And every one of you was moaning about how poor we were in the big games last season. 1 or 2 games aside, we were genuinely poor in the big games. It just didn't work against anyone who knew how to defend. That's a fact. And I remember it because I watched it, We all moaned when Alvarez played in midfield. I remember they did have games against the mid-table sides, the lower sides at home, where Alvarez scored a couple of goals and we did really well, especially early on in the season when people hadn't figured out. But I remember in the big games, the difficult games, we were toothless. We were absolutely toothless. We barely created anything. And Arsenal dominated us at times. They absolutely did. So that's the point I'm making. Yeah, well, Erling has a bad record against big teams. The point I'm making, MK, is we didn't create any chances for Haaland. That is the point I'm making. We didn't have anyone creating chances because Alvarez is not a 10. That's the point I'm making. He's a decent 10. He's a good 10 against less teams. I'm not slagging him off. I think he's a brilliant player, but I don't think he's a brilliant 10, and we don't have to pretend he is. We don't have to pretend he's a genius number 10. He isn't. Phil Foden, De Bruyne, people like that are genius number 10s. Alvarez is not going to play beautiful through balls and all this kind of stuff with David Silva S position and Gundogan S position. He's not that player. There's nothing wrong with admitting that, I remember, because I watch these games and I do these videos and I read all these comments from people and I remember the frustration. Still a brilliant squad player, absolutely. But we don't have to pretend he's De Bruyne, Foden or Haaland level. He's not. He's a step down from that level. And I still think he's great and I'd rather have him in the squad. But do I think we can make up the slack with other players? Yeah, I do. I'm sorry. I do. I think De Bruyne returning, we instantly forget about Alvarez's contribution last season. Let's be honest, we talk about Alvarez being great last season, but with De Bruyne's there, we're even better by a long way, and that's a fact. And Haaland way better up front than Alvarez as well. So I'm not JT. The point is, I was talking about as a 10 where he plays with Haaland's not there. That's what I was talking about as a midfielder. So the point I was making then, if we go to that role again, I'd rather Bob and McAtee get the minutes and learn from that. I honestly would. No, B, you're so naive. They absolutely would, mate. City would sell Alvarez without replacement. Have you not been paying attention to the past few years, pal? They absolutely would, and they've done it before and they'll do it again. It took us 2 years to replace Kompany. It took us 2 years to replace Aguero. They will absolutely. I'm calling him a 10 because last season he played pretty much all his games as a 10 because Haaland was available. He gets in the pitch in 2 positions, as a striker or a 10. That's it. He was more of a 10 last season than as a striker. That's a fact. Doesn't mean he wanted to be there, but we can only judge him where he played. And I guarantee you, if he was available and we were missing De Bruyne or Foden, he'd play Alvarez instead. I didn't think he was good there last season. I thought he was fine. I would actually rather him play Bob. I really would do. He was poor on the wing as well. That's the point. That's the point is, he's not good enough to be our starting striker, and he's definitely not good enough to be our number 10. He isn't. So, Savinho will score 10, 12 goals. Oscar Bob will score 10, 12 goals. There's your goals and assists with De Bruyne, we're back as well. Anyway, whatever we all think is sort of irrelevant. Super chat from Caleb. Thank you so much, my mate. It says, do you think the Alvarez departure might find a Grealish Bob McAtee to compete for those minutes? I think Doku Savinho start, in my opinion. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Well, look, Grealish and Bob are going to start the season. They are going to start the season. Doku and Savinho haven't played. So the start of the season, the Community Shield, I guarantee you, Grealish, Haaland, Bob is going to be our forward line for the first game of the season at least. Might even be the Chelsea game as well because, look, we've seen them do it against Chelsea already. The other players won't be fit yet. Guardiola will be loyal to the players who are doing it right now. And don't be surprised if you see McAtee get some minutes as well. Savinho and Doku, they'll be eased in slowly. Savinho in particular. But yeah, absolutely, my friend. I really do think that. Anyway, people can interpret me talking about Alvarez this way if they want to as a negative. I'm not. I'm just saying, if we look what we're losing our backup striker. Yes, that's a shame. We're losing a good midfielder. a backup striker and a good midfielder. Contributed a lot, yes, but he also, don't forget, he played in one of the best teams in the world, and he's an actual goal scorer, so if he's there, he'll help, you know. But I don't think he's irreplaceable. I think Savinho, Oscar Bob, McAtee, De Bruyne returning, they can more than pick up the slack. I just don't... look, if we can replace and get over Mahrez and Gundogan going with the goals, we can do it with Alvarez. We just can. The only thing we could fuck us here is if Haaland gets injured. I'm not going to deny that. But, you know, we will see. We will see. We're going to have no big signings this summer. Absolutely not. Unless something crazy happens. In Champions League knockouts, am I relying on Bob, Savio, McAtee? No, I'm relying on Haaland, De Bruyne and Foden, mate. That's the point I'm making. And anyway, if he gets to Champions League knockouts, who knows how good they are, man? Savio was one of the best leaguers in La Liga last season. Wingers in La Liga. So, yeah, why not? Oscar Bob looks genius right now. Who knows how good he could be by then? That's to me like, honestly, if Oscar Bob starts the season and he could play 30 games by then, by the Champions League knockouts, and absolutely he could be, look, he's showing signs of brilliance, Oscar Bob. A genuine brilliance. Do not sleep on him. We'll see. Michael Hamilton. Let's talk about Michael Hamilton, who's going to leave to permanent transfer. Fabrizio Romano has reported this. Includes both a buyback and a sell-on clause. Final stage. It'll be a permanent deal. Yeah, and Sam Lee's gone in on it too as well. It's going to happen, this. I don't know the money. I think it'll be a few million. I'm fine with this. I think Michael Hamilton's a really good player, but I don't think I think we should be wary of the Sabadozi factor. Like, I think he's good, but do I think he's Savinho, Doku, Grealish, Bernardo, whatever level? Probably not, man. Probably not. I don't think he is. I think I wish him all the best. Genuinely, I wish him all the best, and I really feel that Hamilton's gonna have a decent career. But he'll look. You've got to remember, Manchester City's level is the best in the world. We are basically the best team in the world. So, if not the best, the second best, or top three, or whatever. So that is the level. Michael Hamilton has got a long way to go. There's no shame. He might be a quality Premier League player one day, but he's got to take a little bit of time to get there. What's the point loaning him out? We can let him go, give him the buyback and all that kind of stuff. And if he gets really good, we can buy him back with no bad blood, you know? So there we go. But anyway, that's where we're at. Without Haaland and KDB, well, who comes in and replace them? Who's already in the squad? Well, KDB, we got Foden, mate. We got Bernardo Silva. You know, we've got a whole bunch of players. We just play Bernardo and Foden. Why would they not be there, though? Look, to be honest, JT, if we lose Haaland and De Bruyne, we're reasonably fucked anyway, you know? So, look, you can always go, well, what if Ederson gets injured and Rodri gets injured and De Bruyne gets injured and Haaland gets injured? Then what? You could do that all day if you wanted to. Yeah, you could do. You know, you could also just crack on, you know, and hope for the best. Like, it's one of those things where, look, I trust. Look, if we played Foden as a false nine and we had, like, it's always what if we lose all our best players? Like, absolutely, we're going to have a lesser level. But of course we are. Like, of course we are, man. Like, we're going to have a less level if we lose our best players. But do I think Foden as a false, Oscar Bob as a false nine couldn't be really effective linking up with people? Look, trust Pep. I trust Pep. And look, this is the last thing I'll say on this. If Guardiola thinks we need a replacement, we will go and sign a replacement. If he doesn't think we'll need a replacement, we won't. And we'll crack on with the squad we've got. That's it. If Guardiola thinks he's got a solution, he will lean on it. And ultimately, Guardiola's pretty much always right. He's been right, 6 times out of 7, whatever it is, in the league. That's what Guardiola does. That's what Guardiola does. We all moan every year, we're not going to be able to do this or this because of that. We're not going to be able to replace these because of that. And guess what? City win the fucking league, and that is the end of it. That's what we always do. And I don't know, it might be that this year's too much, but at the same time, I feel like if you can't enjoy young lads getting trusted finally, which we all want superstars and we want academy players at the same time. You can't have your cake and eat it, lads. Sometimes something's got to give. And ultimately, that's where we're at right now, you know? Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Give the video a like. Let me know what you make of this potential exit. Look, I would love a replacement, but it is what it is. Bye-bye.